Let's face it, documentation and even communication in large projects is way too complicated. But don't you sometimes feel like you spend way too much time on procedures and forms instead of the content? Here is the reasons why I think it's so complicated and how we can actually make it simple. Procedures and contract requirements have their roots in the 80s and 90s where everything was done on real paper. Contract requirements and procedures are copy-paste from the oil and gas industry where resources and money was not an issue. No one really had the courage to challenge and change it. No one did invest the time needed to get an overview of the complete life cycle and the stakeholders' key requirements. As Kierkegaard said, everybody wants change, but no one wants to change. Lead time for document to reach the receiver is way too long. It often has to pass through document controller on the contractor side, on the employer side, and back and forward. Why is that? Because document procedures and document systems is so complicated, you need to be an expert to navigate in it. What happened then? The document owner just hand over documents to the document expert. And as we know, each time we hand over information, the quality decreases. Had this been in a production facility in the automotive industry, the company would have gone bankrupt. Alignment on contract schedules between the parties take way too much time. Why is that? The requirements is simply too complicated, and only a few of them brings value to the table. The method of aligning the scope of document to be delivered is unclear and too complicated. So what can we do? The procedures need to be lean and simple. If it's necessary to write long, detailed manuals and guidelines, then the procedures and the system setup is way too complicated. So how do we make documentation and communication lean? We need to have the courage to start on a blank piece of paper and understand the key requirements for the organization and the project. Here's an example of a typical wind farm project. Hours spent for documentation and communication management and handling could reach up to 50,000 hours. Lead time for information to reach the receiver could be days. A few years ago, I had the chance to practice what I preach. Instead of spending 50,000 hours on documentation management, we managed to reduce time spent on documentation to less than 6,000 hours. Regarding lead times for information to reach the receiver, we cut it from days down to minutes. As an example, a document controller's checklist has more than 100 steps that needs to be checked manually. If we set the system up right, 90% of this will be automated. What do we need? We need a single source of truth. And it could be in Aconex. We need one system for all project-related documentation, communication, and information. But why? We don't want copies of documents and informations. Everybody shall be able to find, store, and share information in seconds. It's very simple to make things complicated, but it's complicated to make it simple. Does this make sense to you? Then reach out to me. My name is Henning Kristensen, Lean Documentation.